38 Highfield, you want to discuss? No problem at all, yeah. Yeah, I can do that one. Right, as we're now live and kicking, apologies for the delay. It's not my normal way of doing things. I know certainly one of our two guests tonight knows what I usually say, but I will say it for the benefit of the cameras and the recording, that we as the B committee sit here in an advisory capacity only. We have no power. The ultimate decision on any planning applications is taken by St Albans, their officers, or indeed if you get called in by a district councillor, by the Plans North Committee, a member of which I am, when decisions are made regarding planning in the whole of the District North area. That includes Redbourne, Wheathampton and Harpenden. Right, welcome to Councillor Farmer, joining us newly, having replaced Chris Canfield. We'll kick off. We will do the Pan Autos application first, out of courtesy to you all. You can stay as long as you like, but I will do that one first. Probably will generate the most debate at this side here from the start. Anyway, just to point out again, I'm sure you all know, this is recorded, filmed. It will be on the internet in a few days' time. As long as everybody's happy with that, we'll go into battle. Right, thanks very much. We'll start at the beginning. Apologies for absence.
Well, no apologies for absence.
Yep, good. Okay, good. Do we have any declarations of interest tonight? No? Good. Good stuff. Right. Are you all happy for me to sign the minutes? Those who... Yeah, there's only you that were here, wasn't it?
Yes, that's right. Yes, that's fine.
On the 24th of October?
Yeah, I'll read through them.
Thank you.
Sign these. Do we have any public questions?
None received.
No. Good, thank you. Right, on to the applications. Again, out of courtesy to our guests here tonight, the planning committees as such for the town council, their rules for what we actually discuss were changed a couple of months ago, and we now only discuss ones of particular interest. There's a list on the website of what we actually do discuss. Having said that, any councillor can ask us to discuss any application if they have an interest in it, or indeed a member of the public, if we're seriously interested in it, can ask for it to be called forward to committee. Other than that, we ask for our officers to make a decision, or indeed on many of the applications we don't need to make a comment at all. Right, so we'll start off with Hamilton.
Okay, it's on page 17 on your agenda.
Thank you. So it's reference 5/2017-3209. It's an outline application for access layout and scale sought for the demolition of the existing construction of 3 blocks comprising 4 one-bedroom and 39 two-bedroom flats with associated underground and surface level parking, amenity space and associated works. This is a resubmission following withdrawal of the previous one earlier on this year. I know we've got Ms. Markson here who will speak first of all, and you have your say before we have our debate. Do you want to have your say? One of you? Have your...
Can we come up together?
If you want to. You know, man, I don't want to speak to you, Chair. I'm sorry. Can I apologise first of all, Mike, I did raise with you the other day that I couldn't see anything about the 106 in the quick glance through. I have found the page now. So, although there's not a figure mentioned, I understand that we will make sure that it's completed correctly.
Just for your reference, I asked our planning consultants to calculate what that would be, and that is 86,564.
Right.
So,
right, over to you.
I'd like to introduce Chetan Chauhan, who's the architect, not really to go to the scheme in any particular depth, but really just to point out really the changes which we have made from the previous application. So you can actually see what we've looked to try to address the comments which came back from there. So rather than sort of go through everything, I thought we'd just concentrate on that.
Yep. Hi there, everybody. So like Michael's just suggested, what we've looked at doing is sort of taking on board the comments that were raised during the sort of initial application, seeing how they could be potentially addressed within the resubmission. Fundamentally, I think in terms of the comments or the changes that we made, do you mind if I just point at a few bits? So, sort of fundamentally, the scheme is as per the previous submission. Where we focused efforts is very much about building block A, the one that fronts onto Grove Road, looking at predominantly the scale of that building. I think initially we had the building was, the idea being is that we see it as quite an important interchange or junction or nodal corner. So we were trying to originally mark this corner with some height and then scaling the development down as we go towards deeper into Southdown. But having sort of looked at the concerns, what we've looked at doing is dropping this corner back down, so the block fronting Grove Road is now like so. So it's 3 stories in scale. What we've also done, which does change the language of the building quite dramatically, is look at the architectural language. So on the previous iteration, we were trying to look at a slightly more contemporary approach, so still maintaining a more traditional form of building, but introducing more of a sort of contemporary way in which we could detail. Now, what we've looked to do on this scheme is to revert back to what is more of a traditional approach, drawing on examples, and within the submission, my plans are in order. Within the submission, we have actually cited some sort of precedents as well in terms of the language of architecture that we now see being utilised on the development. So again, with it being an outline, obviously it is sort of just indication, but this is the kind of feel that we're going for, really. And sort of those are the sort of primary 2 sort of areas. As I say, predominantly everything else is in line. This has led to a reduction in the number of units as well, so I think the previous scheme from memory was about 46. This has sort of had a reduction down to 43 units, and obviously that has had a knock-on effect in terms of parking, but we are still maintaining sort of the parking provision, I think, if not slightly more in terms of the visitor allocation on the site now as well. So that's pretty much all of them.
I think the only other thing to mention is that in terms of looking at the scheme in a little bit more detail, this scheme has the a slightly improved ratio in terms of the car parking, but we've increased the amenity area. And we've increased, if you like, how that amenity area works. So on the basement car parking, or the basement is now majority is car parking, but we've also got some cycle stalls in there. We actually then see that this has been a very sustainable location. We feel that lots of people will actually use bicycles, so rather than having hundreds of hoops on the ground floor, we've now got designated areas.
Correct. The majority are all now, so on a basis of 1-to-1, are all now within the basement area, so people do have the ability to get off their cycle and then go straight into the building, so you're not parking your bike outside. So it's a very, like Michael said, sustainable approach about how, and it'll encourage people to use them, I think, rather than sort of like oodles of hoops outside that don't necessarily get utilised.
I mean, if I can just start off with a couple of questions. This is an outline application. When are you proposing, are you going to wait for this to come through district before you put in a full, presumably after this would be a full application, depending on comments as raised?
We would envisage that we'd actually follow this on very quickly with a full application, having sort of identified the, or hopefully secured the outline application. If you like, the other part of the equation, although it's not linked, is in terms of our proposals for relocation of panel cells, which we've now reached a point where we have fixed the scheme. We now need to sort of work that up in greater detail. But if you like, that would then probably be in conjunction with a detailed application on this site. The
only other thing I want to ask before we're asking a proper discussion is the entrance going to be gated? Are you going to control the entrance to this car park? The reason I say this is, I'll talk about parking later on, but this whole area, I've lived there for 30 years, and this corporate yard area is an absolute nightmare at school time in the morning and in the evening. If there is a gap there that people can drive in, people will drive in to drop off their children. The other thing is, and I couldn't find any mention in the DNA submission, is that Dark Lane will have double yellow lines down it early next year.
Okay.
It's gone through the consultation period, and I believe it's now all been approved by highways. So I don't think anybody's suggested that in any of your things.
No, that's
so it's obviously something which needs to be thought out very carefully regarding it will stop any parents. They can't stop in Grove. Well, they can stop in Grove Road just past the school at the door on time on both sides, but it will stop them completely. You know, they're going to look to come into your development because there's going to be nowhere else to drop off their children.
In terms of, in essence, we have capacity to provide some kind of barrier control if that was so desired on the front, and also it wouldn't sort of impact on the highways because we've got the ability to pull off of the highway while everyone's putting it.
Yes, it's not going into your development. I'm more thinking of 8:30 to 9:15 in the morning.
Yeah.
If they can think anywhere to turn into, if the tip was open, they'd go into there to drop it. And indeed in the afternoon, because the infant school and the junior school are staggered, it's over like a whole hour and a half period.
Okay, yeah.
So I'm trying to help you. That area is an event. The school has demanded that it is double yellow lines.
Sure.
Because the problem is that lorries delivering and collecting from the tip. And unfortunately, we can't persuade the area who now control the tip to bring their lorries in, not at school time.
Right.
And when cars park down there, it's an absolute nightmare with them driving on the pavement for children.
Sorry, but there's certainly, if that is felt, in terms of your considerations, if that's a comment which you'd like us to address, then that's something we would certainly address.
Yeah. Well, I'm just trying to help you.
Absolutely.
My own knowledge. So.
Absolutely.
Anyway, sorry, I have a few questions.
I've got some questions on the way. I quite like the appearance of the building. Actually, I think was it before an extra story on top?
It was. I can't. Want to see the
don't worry. Looking at there's lots of objections about parking because I think people are really worried that there's only one parking space per flat. and they're worried that people are going to park additional cars in Coleswood Road and other roads like that. And also people will have visitors at these flats, so I just wonder whether you can say anything about the parking.
In terms of its location, in terms of the sustainable location, then it complies with the necessary standards, I believe. I think in terms of the public perception, which I can fully understand, and I believe a lot of the issue relates to commuters sort of parking and then walking to the station. From our experience elsewhere and other developments within Harpenden, notably at the Foresters and also recently at Arden Grove, and I appreciate Arden Grove is certainly closer to the station, the ratio of 1-to-1 has worked, adequately. So, I'd be more than happy if anyone wants to come down to the Foresters at a weekend for the 20 car or for the 22 residents and just see how many spaces are actually used. So we would envisage here the market for this accommodation to be very much split between the younger professionals working in town, albeit some of them might work locally, but also downsizers. So if you like, it's twinned at both of those.
I understand. You have some visitor car parking there as well, for the number of spaces there?
We do, and there is it's a bit of a juxtaposition here, because we could provide more car parking spaces. But it would it would be at the expense of some of the amenity area. So how many more spaces do you think we could get?
We'd get another 4 spaces comfortably, working within the sort of efficiency of the road layout that we've got at the moment. But like Michael says, that would be to the detriment of some of the sort of on-site amenity provision. So that's the balance. And at the moment, what we've tried to create that balance, if you like, to provide some on-site visitor provision. At the moment, in terms of the submission, there's 3 visitor spaces.
Okay. Other question was about bins. There's so many bins, waste bins. Is it going to be a problem come bin day?
Well, no. Again, the idea on the development is, and that has been the on-site roadways have been tracked, so that would enable the refuse cart to come onto site, back onto the development, and then collect. There's 2 sort of areas which are collection points on the development. And then from there, then the vehicle would exit in a forward gear back onto Grove Road.
Yeah, I looked at the vehicle tracks and they look quite good there. And also I saw the traffic report, but traffic and business would be a little bit less.
Yes. That's right. It's just like the very nature of the use compared to...
Sorry, my very last question was on the recycling centre, whether that's going to have cause a problem for people in flats.
Well, no, again, I don't know how well you know the site, but there is we have got the levels between even when I first went down there, having known panels over so many years, and then actually spent a bit of time on site, you see that there is this level difference on the back. So just by the very nature of where the buildings are sited, how they're orientated, and actually benefiting from that level difference, we're trying to mitigate against any potential sort of concerns that might raise. So units are very much facing away from that as well. But again, in terms of the hours of operation, again, the type of the type of residential accommodation it is as well, I think that we'll be okay. I think we have advice on that as well from a statistician.
Thank you.
I think we mainly asked what I was going to
say.
Thank you. So I think we probably all got the same questions. So I don't think I put anything else. Actually, I think it was mainly on the parking, and I just want to say, because mayors don't usually sit on and covering for people, so I think it's good to have more 1 or 2 bedrooms accommodation in the town. There's a huge need for it, so I think that is good to see.
I think it meets the neighbourhood plan requirement.
And it meets what we will be looking
to
go for in particular to meet that requirement.
Yeah. I'd like to also agree, I think, especially with the improvements to the application, which we really appreciate, and it feels like you have taken into consideration what, especially some of the concerns that we had. But I just want to say that this is a really welcome development in the town in terms of 1 and 2 bedroom flats, as somebody unprofessional myself that has many friends in the town who would like to, it's a really important time, so it looks like it would be a promising development.
And it's quite good that Pan Autos is relocating somewhere else in Harpenden.
Yes, I think that's something we can be pleased at. I think that it will also mean that we're not losing a business in the jobs that go with it.
I really like the line that we had in our previous recommendation around we work on the proposal of value local businesses working with a developer. I quite like that, and I'd like to see that reflected again.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm just checking that they are meeting the legal requirement for the number of car parking spaces.
A grey area, depending which rule you look at. Yes. I mean, I was going to qualify, but what my colleagues are saying, as very much the local councillor, in respect of, with my own knowledge of what actually happens there every day. You mentioned the refuse collection. Unfortunately, it's 8:30 in the morning. So, because that's the time that I've been to collect it. So, it's something which your residents are going to have to think very carefully about, getting in or getting out, if they need to get a car in or getting out, with a refuse vehicle that might be reversing in or driving in and turning around and then loading up. Bear in mind, for that number of flats, it's not going to be a 5-minute job. So it's something which you need to look at. Unfortunately, we can't change the time. What time we're all glad that it comes early in the morning. But I know it causes chaos outside the school at the moment, and they're not picking up from any houses except on the other side of the road.
I see.
So it's something to think about when you're thinking about. I mean, I understand planning pretty well, probably not as good as mine, but certainly if it came to district, I would probably want a condition put on, whether the conditions are enforceable, I don't know, but one of the conditions of sales of the flat, because they're for sale, not for rent, aren't they?
Yes.
Yes. Is indeed that only one car is permitted per flat.
Yeah.
I would, that as a condition of the sale, would think that if somebody hasn't got a car, they can sell their space to next door neighbour. But I would think, I would not want this development to be to the detriment of Coleswood Road or Kingcroft Road, where I used to live 30 years ago, or indeed Onfield, because we already have parking laws at night. I know you've done your survey, but that survey is the daytime. It's not actually realising what happens when people come home at night. I regularly get phone calls from people saying there's nowhere to park my car. And we've only got 3 cars, and of course Coleswood Road was built with no drives. So, I think if we had a problem, we'd put residence parking in those 3 roads. It is a possibility we could do, but then there would be nowhere. But I think your development has to be self-contained in its own right, with no overspill. The cars, daytime I'm not too worried about. Daytime, I know you've talked about, and I know you talked when we had the open session at Methodist Hall, by saying the number of cars that Pan Autos bring in every day that are not now going to be there. But that's daytime. There's spaces in Coleswood Road all daytime. But I think if you look in the evening, there is not one space in those 2. Well, it's a bit better in Longfield because some of them got drives. But it's something really, certainly if it came to Plans North, I would insist on that condition. And if it was in the proposals, it would make life a lot easier. I don't know how it could be worded. You've got obviously 40 odd units to sell, 40 odd contracts.
We can certainly sort of take that up with them just to see what if you like, checks and balances can be imposed. Yeah.
I mean, I know it works because my son had a flat in a development in Birmingham where the condition of that was quite clearly you've got one parking space and there's nowhere to park anywhere near in the centre of Birmingham. But people did then say, well, I'm not using my space, and put notes through the door. If anybody wants a space, we'll come to an arrangement. And I don't mind what it's done within the site, but I do think we cannot make life more difficult for the people on the other side of the road.
No,
I said,
I understand.
with what I mentioned earlier about Dart Lane going double yellow.
Yeah, no, I understand.
It might only be double yellow at school time, but it will be enforced.
No, of course.
And obviously anybody couldn't park there all day.
Yes, of course.
So it's something to think about in your ultimate planning.
Okay. No, we'll take that one.
Is that okay? I mean, I'm speaking now as
No. Well,
as both planning and a local resident.
Well, it's also looking at the practical levels and the considerations, which is very welcome because it's got to work.
Well, it has to, and I don't really want a war with Coleswood Road opposite.
No.
Because the road, unfortunately, Grove Road is a busy road.
Yeah.
Because everybody from the estate at the end of Grove Road has to get along there in the morning. There's no other way out.
No.
And the pinch point at the
we
roundabout.
queue all the way along to the roundabout at the bottom of Piccadilly Lane. So, well, on paper, with those thoughts minded, I think this is an improvement on your first application, and I would support it with those conditions. With your proposals and that. I'm not convinced 40 people will ride bikes, but I can be convinced otherwise. But I put it to committee now. Is everybody of similar thoughts?
Yes, I'd go with that.
Yes, sounds very good.
Yes, go with that.
Yes.
So, I mean, we don't see. I think I'm going to put concerns about the parking, but I've qualified it by, I can't write all the details down, because obviously we are submitted to, and we're only here, as I said, as you know, as an advisory capacity. But those are my thoughts as the local body as such.
No, but I think they are it's a valid thought. So in terms of the consultation type of process, obviously when we go through our pre-apps and everything else, we will get more of a technical view.
Yeah,
so,
and if it could be gated or buried in some way, that would help not only your residents, everybody else as well, and especially the school staff.
I think, especially if it is sort of like getting closer to walking distance of the station, as people are prepared to walk further and further. And I've got relatives who live in parts of Harpenden where lots of people just come and dump their cars and they don't even live there, so it might agree with the gated suggestion. It might make life easier for your residents.
Yeah, I've taken a note of that. All those comments are really useful.
I'm presuming it will work as we can't call in an outline, can we?
Yeah.
Well, we can call it. I haven't called it in.
No one has called it in, but.
But I don't know if it's going to come to plans referrals or plans.
I was going to say, must it all go to plans referral?
It might, because it's size.
Because it's size, size might mean to go to referral rather than plans. Okay.
Terry sits on plans referrals, I don't. So. The other local council.
Can you just confirm your recommendation? Are you just saying that you've got
concerns about the parking as outlined, but with the possibility that it could be adjusted before the fall? We can talk around that. But I'm happy with the amended application. Well, new application. It's not amended, is it? It's a new application. As it stands. So it's just that the parking needs tweaking and the possibility for barrier.
No, happy to do that.
Again, that'd be. Is that okay with you?
Absolutely fine, yeah.
Is everybody, is all the rest of my members happy with that? Thanks very much.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
We try and be constructive. Thanks very much indeed.
Do you want the door closed?
No, leave it.
Thank you very much.
Don't worry, you need to press the right button, which I don't know which one. Right, is that okay? Tim, thank you very much. Yeah, sorry, I'm not sure the technicals had to write all that down about the parking. Do you understand what I was trying to say? I think we've all read the letters on the internet, and the critical letters would all reflect the fact that there's no parking
Yes,
near.
everyone's quite happy.
Yes, see something, because it's horrible, but
Yes,
the river are nice,
the
but
actually, the new design is brilliant.
Yeah.
It's
it's just,
it's very similar to the Shanley Homes one.
Yeah,
yeah.
I think it's just right, it's just about getting the finer details right, isn't it?
yeah.
And the nice thing about it is, and again, I know Mike knows this, in that respect, is that we'd have a desperate shortage of 1 and 2 bedroom
Yeah,
houses
yes,
in
yes.
Harpenden, which you said all the way along the line, and at the moment, there is 18 houses in Harpenden, having talked to some estate agents, there's 18 houses over 750,000, been on the market more than a year. They cannot sell them, they keep getting bigger and bigger houses, you just can't sell them.
Yeah, I've been noticing that as well, and it's quite an interesting probably for another time, but it's been now a lot of the 4-bedroom houses that have been the sort of the 600, 700 mark are now getting close to 800, and so they're actually coalescing, like these massive houses selling for the same price as that, because there's just not as much demand for the huge ones.
So anyway, we'll go back to the first one we should have discussed on the as you all know, I'm not reading every application number down. We don't need to. I'm happy to talk about anyone in particular. First one on the list that I came to was indeed 38 Highfield Avenue. But I don't think that was upstairs.
Yes.
So we did, it's just that.
That one for her because they recommend an additional location.
Right, okay, that's fine.
Should
So is that it? Okay.
I'll bring it up on the phone.
Well, it's 5/2017, 3050 on page 14. The proposal was for a 2-storey rear and side extension, single-storey rear extension, view front porch, hip to gable roof extension, loft conversion with rear dormer windows, rear raised terrace, alteration to the openings, and installation of roof lights. Now, earlier on this year, they've already got approval from St Albans for a 2-storey side, first floor rear, and alterations to the porch, alteration to openings, and installation of roof lights. So there was no mention of the roof earlier, the hip to gable, or indeed the loft conversion.
Or the loft conversion, dormer window.
So,
I've been there, and they started on the roof.
the what? Sorry.
They have started on the roof. There's on 38 Highfield Avenue, there's all the scaffolding, polythene covering of the roof, and you can stand outside and you can see people on ladders and that working on the roof. The roof's gone. So, but anyway, so they started on it.
Would they be doing a roof light, or is it the whole of the roof that's gone?
The whole of the roof.
Oh, okay.
But when I
We're not late, and it's already been approved.
No,
No,
because...
because it's only just common, isn't it?
Yeah.
It never mentions the roof like that, previous application.
No, because they give the 3 weeks, expiring 1st of December or 8th of December, so no.
Yeah,
No, they can't possibly. No.
Yeah. And the first one is just the roof lights, unless they're just redoing the roof, but why would you do that when you want to...
Or just doing the 2 stories. But it's so expensive, why would they take the whole roof off?
Unless they're doing...
Well, no, anyway,
I don't know.
Yes, but then that doesn't make sense. If you're then going back to get additional planning, I mean, you wouldn't start.
You'd wait.
You wouldn't start on the side of it.
by all means, drive up there and have a look.
Well, that's definitely the express concern that they
I
were...
did take a photo.
Well, we can only ask enforcement to
Have a peek.
yeah, because it's obviously part of a setting, isn't it?
Yeah.
So next door going to have theirs done as well?
Exactly, it's part of the, I mean, but nearly, most of the houses along that road are
Yeah.
It is semi, but
Is it scuffling around both?
no, it's only round number 38.
So how can they do their roof and not do the other one?
Well, that's what I was puzzled with, because in looking at the plan, you know, it looks like the plan almost implies that the next door walls are being done. But, you know,
There's no application for next door.
I mean, I didn't like the
It's a horrible
plan.
plan.
You know, but if they weren't starting on it, I
Can
would
we-
have felt that it wasn't in keeping with the street
Lynn,
thing.
can we have a look at the pictures up on the screen?
I would have thought it's a street scene problem if it's going from hip to gable.
Yes, I mean, it's not,
Yeah,
yes, I mean, it's a very substantial increase in that you get permission,
yeah.
and then walks off and then...
And no provision for any more car parking?
No,
But
there
then, that's one of the other things.
No, I mean,
Presumably, there's another bedroom there, presumably.
Well, yeah, basically you've got 3 bedrooms and then this loft space.
Which will be a bedroom.
Yeah, so
Oh, no.
so I think, I mean, we're still discussing it, but I felt that was probably justified the phrase that's been used of not making it habitable space. You know, not allowing it to be a bedroom.
Yeah.
I mean,
But of course, once you put lights in it like that, the only idea is to make it inhabitable.
Come off it, what are you putting lights in?
Yeah, putting
You're doing it.
windows in.
You're doing it so you can make it into another bedroom.
Yeah, and you can't, it's not enforceable to say, oh, you're using it as a
You're not,
bedroom.
You look at that bottom left-hand corner. It's horrendous.
And if you sold the house, then there's no guarantee the next people wouldn't.
and, I mean,
It's like a garage on the roof.
I just,
Yeah.
I like the way the picture cunningly leaves out the other half.
well, I mean, it's a huge change.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a shed on the roof.
It doesn't match the street scene.
It's horrendous. And we can
Right.
refusal.
I'm certainly going to go and recommending refusal.
No, definitely.
No,
I think we're all of that opinion.
yes.
Um,
There weren't any objections on the.
Well, amazing.
well, think of that when it goes. How do you come across it?
Awful. I've
How do you
seen
come across
bad
it?
things,
Well,
but I've
I
not
just-
seen anything that bad ever.
You don't normally look at every application.
No, but well, the point was that I was taking in staff, but then I also looked at the ones which you got worries about parking.
Yeah, oh, thank you. Well
So I
done,
thought that
yes.
was
I didn't get round to look at this one.
I have to say, the worries about parking, although we'll have planning inspector will take no blooming notice whatsoever.
No,
Forget
they
it. You cannot refuse on parking.
No, but we can raise concern.
You
We
raise
can
concerns,
we can argue it then
refuse
for
on
the
parking.
Well,
And I
but I
think
think
the
the,
tenants have ignored it a little bit now as well.
Well, you have to, because if you go to appeal,
Yeah.
they will just say, oh, sustainable transport town centre, they will
Yeah.
not.
No, I think, yes, I'm sorry, I've got to go a bit stronger. Yeah, recommend refusal.
Yeah.
With regard to
Can we add the
on-site
street
parking
scene?
provision
Yeah.
and indeed the street scene
yes.
and the,
Overbearing development.
And then,
Yes.
and then also express deep concern that site appears to already have had work commenced.
yeah, and,
Yes. The effect
and
of the-
indeed it is part of a centre. You know, it is one part of a...
It is.
I mean, I love it, the way they completely
Ignore the next door.
ignore what's going on.
They've even got grass on the other side of it. It's like, I was like, oh, it just stops.
Because I know what's going to happen. They're just going to say, well, we built it.
Yes.
That's what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
So they're well away
They're trying to pull a fast
finishing
one.
it.
Yeah.
Well,
No, we'll get enforcement down.
Yeah. I mean, that is...
I'll talk about it tomorrow.
really...
Yeah, I can get that. I get that discussed.
By all means, try that.
Yeah, no, I will do. But I think your
This is why people can't.
the details are... right. Thank you for that, Rob. Thank you for being so observant. I don't see everything that happens in Harpenden. Right. 5/2017-3079, next one down. A detached dwelling with new access and associated landscaping, part retrospective. Resubmission following approval. earlier this year, in September actually.
Really annoys me when people get approval and then they come back again for another bite at the
I mean, I
cherry.
can't, what's the alteration this time? On
It was, they changed,
I can't look at...
well, they're putting in some loft space, aren't they?
They've put in,
They're putting in another one.
roof
Yes.
line.
But hang on,
the last
getting
one.
in another bed. In other words, they had to lower it. They weren't allowed to go up to the height.
No.
So they're basically trying to find a way around the fact they're not been allowed to do
There were
3
3 stories, but it's going to be 3 stories in inverted commas.
Yes.
And there's a letter of objection.
Also, can I just point out the last application they had was also part retrospective earlier this year.
Oh, I see.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's obviously
Well, one of the questions I've got was they've got. I'm just checking that the height of the roof height is the same as the roof height on the previous approval, so they're not trying to pull a fast one.
Right. Well, I can check that later, but I can't check it.
No, it probably is. And it's to do basically they're saying 1 further bedroom because they're going down as well. I don't believe it's 1 further bedroom. I think it's 2.
Yeah.
Sorry, I can answer your question,
Okay,
because there was an outline here,
Yes.
this was the previous application,
Yes.
this is the new one.
Yeah.
So the roof height has reduced.
It has.
And also, I think that
That's
there's
right.
a street scene.
But the basically you're trying to find is getting a loft bedroom.
This is
I mean,
I mean, it's,
there is only just space for 3 cars. You have to enter, and again, the condition, you have to
Yeah.
enter Luton Road
Yeah.
in forward gear.
Yeah, I tried to drive into this, I couldn't drive into it. I drove around that area, but I had to...
Highways haven't any objections, so
No, you must, they've said that
but
they have been proved
yes,
that they will enter the highway in forward gear. Well,
Yes.
I would want that as a condition,
yes.
that no cars can reverse
I
afterwards.
agree, I think that's the land we're talking
I don't know how you
about.
enforce this, I don't know.
big sign. No reverse.
Well, I don't know, no, exactly, it's difficult, but it's just shot across the back. As far as I'm concerned, you know.
Yeah, well, exactly.
So I think we've got to say concerns that the lack of parking provision with the difficulty of...
Yes. And the other thing I suppose, because they're not physically, they've got it as the basement, they're going into the roof, they're saying only 1 more bedroom, well, they want to have extra space, what are they doing with it?
Yeah, it's not obvious on the plans what they're going to use the basement for.
No, I just say,
They haven't said it's
what's the basement
cinema
for?
room or
No.
swimming pool or...
Family room?
Right, so what would you like us to say? Express concern?
Yep, express concern,
Yeah.
parking provision for the extra bedroom. And the, well, qualifying that by the provision in the, in the parking area for cars to turn round to enter Luton Road in forward gear. I mean, we can just say, at least
Yeah.
we've
I mean, you can't possibly reverse.
You can't reverse up there, no, not at all.
Possibly. It's illegal to reverse onto a main road anyway.
Yeah.
Say something about the loft room that we found.
Yeah, well, yes, I mean, we could say, it's a parking provision, the extra bedroom in the loft or in the basement.
Well, it depends whether it's 1 or 2 bedrooms.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right.
I'll sort the proper wording out.
I mean,
Is that okay?
basically,
Is that okay?
Yeah,
Yes,
I
it's
just need
we've
to...
just gone,
basically, this has come back to try and retrieve
what the
space
loft
they
room
lost when they lost
will
the
retrieve.
heel.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, well done. Thank you, Rose, for
Oh, I got the hiccup.
that information. That was, right, there's just one more. There's 2.
Well, they're the same thing, aren't they?
Right,
Same thing.
in fact, both linked together.
They're linked.
Right. Present farm. Right, so it's, can we do them both together, please, in
Yes,
that respect?
please.
It's 2017-3067, and 5/2017-3068 LB. This is a conversion of a Victorian barn into Class B1 business office unit and home gym, ground floor, and 1 2-bedroom residential unit at ground floor and first floor with alterations to openings and insertion of roof line. Stable block, farm office, etc., etc. So it seems to be a bit of everything on this particular thing. Any thoughts?
I've been up there, and
I'll let you in.
I just turned around.
I've got a big dog.
But I actually think that it kind of meets the neighbourhood plan in terms of business.
Yeah.
You know, like we want to encourage businesses. I was thinking about North Martin's upholstery business. But it's a narrow lane there. You know, it's a bit dodgy as we come this way.
I laid across the wall to live on the traffic report.
Yes.
Road.
But when I looked though at the traffic report, it said 5.6, the local planning authority may include a planning condition relating to the compliance with the approved delivery and servicing management plan as part of any planning approved. Okay. So now going through the details of this thing, it's slightly unclear. But it seems to me that might not be a bad thing to mention. On this one.
So that's from highways?
Very narrow.
The highways?
Highways, yes.
Yes.
Traffic and environment. There were 3 traffic report sections or something, and this was out of the first one. So, apart from that, the ecology report was fine.
Yes, the reports were fine.
Yeah, they were. It was encouraging, wasn't it?
And I mean, I have to say, I think, in fact, not only the report, fits in with them, with businesses, but also, I think, importantly, to maintain, it's local cultural.
Yes,
which I thought was quite important, actually.
I like the mix of things that are going into this site.
I mean, going back to the second part of it, obviously it is a listed building, so we would need our listed building officer to make sure that everybody complies with the protection of the
usual,
which we don't get involved
the
in.
usual
Can we do like the whole no objection subject to
complying with listed building rules and
compliance
with any highway
with
requirements.
highway requirements. Yeah, well done, Ross.
Do you want that piece of paper? Does that help?
That'd be good.
They're doing quite interesting. It's doing a new block of farm offices, but most people will be busy trying to
put it down.
Put the
state there.
The funny thing, so I went onto the planning portal, and I plugged in this number. It didn't accept LD, and then it didn't. If I took away the LD, I couldn't get anything right. Was I doing something wrong? I got this one all right.
Yeah.
But it was just this bit.
See, I didn't even bother going on to it, to be honest, because I thought there was no point in finishing off the plan because we'll put the same.
Yes,
I indicated,
but I couldn't make it work.
Oh, look at it.
So in principle, we're all happy as long as it complies with.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it's rather nice to see some things coming together that meet the neighbourhood plan.
Yes.
And indeed, and draw attention to the highways bit. You got that? Yes, sorry.
Alright. I think it's very nice to see that actually a lot of the stuff in the neighbourhood plan is obviously very commercially viable as well, otherwise people wouldn't be doing it now.
Yeah.
And it sort of shows that the need for 1 and 2 bedroom houses and sort of developments like this are really going to be valuable to town.
I mean, going back to the Pan Autos application, I think 2 of the letters complained about loss of employment locally. As 9% of their staff arrive by car from various parts, Luton and all over the place, I don't think it really matters whether they go to Cold Harbour Lane or... And in fact the business will employ more people because they'll have a bigger area to service and
the traffic report said the traffic would go down, which I could believe because there's a lot of cars.
Yeah, there's a lot goes in and out of there, and it's actually quite...
And Town also use
Yes.
Grove Road as a test track.
We won't go into that too much. We see the Avenue is a test track as well, if that's ill. But no. No, I think we're very happy with that. I think the applicant took on the comments.
Yeah.
Good.
So, we've got a couple more things to do at the end. So, right, we've got the applications. Right, letters of objection, we had one. Which you've all got a copy of.
Yeah, it's in my email.
I think,
Yes, I've seen it, yes.
So, appeals, no appeals, no. Prior notifications, no, I haven't got any of those, have I? We've done the decisions, the tree works we don't get involved in. And the next meeting, Plans North, is on Monday the 11th of December. And we'll be there. Planning Committee A, which is not us, will be on Tuesday the 19th. So we must next be beginning of January, are we? So I can wish you, let me turn off the important bit.